Straight away, I'm going to hand over to Andrew.
Thank you very much, Chairman and members, and welcome to the reconvened Council meeting on the 30th of April. Just to let you know that the meeting today is being recorded, and a recording of the meeting will be made available on the Council's website within the next 2 working days. If you can use the instant messaging to attract the attention of the Chairman, we don't always see the hands when they come up. That would be really good during the meeting. And the format of the meeting will be as per the agenda published. Just to say, if there are any technical problems, we will adjourn the meeting to resolve those. I would like to now hand over to the monitoring officer, Miss Wellman, who will conduct the roll call. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mulhewis. Good morning, members. When I call out your name, if you could indicate that you're here and let me know whether you can see and hear the proceedings, please. So starting with Councillor Barber.
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, fellow councillors. Yes, I can see and hear everything of the meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Bayliss. Councillor Bayliss? No?
Oh, sorry, we're stuck on mute. Yeah, I'm here, can hear and see everything.
Thank you very much. Councillor Bolt, please.
Yes, Brian Bolt for Cannington and Wemden. I can see and hear the meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Bradford.
Good morning, everyone. Councillor Alan Bradford representing North Petherton, and I can hear everybody loud and clear. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bruce. Councillor Bruce. Okay. Councillor Caswell, please.
Good morning, all. Councillor Mike Caswell. I can clearly hear and see everything.
Thank you. Councillor Cordiner.
Yep, I'm here on the telephone, so I can hear everything.
Okay, thank you. That's fine, Councillor Cordiner. Councillor Crowe.
Good morning, everybody. It's Councillor Barry Crowe speaking, representing Puriton, Wallavington and Cossington, and I can see and hear everything.
Thank you. Councillor Duddridge.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Councillor Lance Duddridge representing Bridgewater, Victoria, and I can see and hear everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dyer.
Yes, Councillor Dyer, I can see and hear everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Facey.
Yes, Councillor Facey, Burnham North, can hear and see all, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Finneran.
Good morning, Ward Councillor Finneran. I'll start again. Councillor Paul Finneran, Ward Councillor for Cheddar and Shipham, and yes, I can see and hear everything clearly. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Gibson.
Hello, good morning. Yeah, I can see and hear the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gibson. Councillor Gilling.
Thank you, Councillor Andrew Gilling, ward member from the Knoll ward, and I can hear and see everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Glassford.
Good morning, Melanie. Councillor Alec Glassford representing Fairfax Bridgewater. I can see and hear you clearly.
Thank you. Councillor Godwin Pearson.
Good morning, Graham Godwin Pearson here from Axvale ward. I can see and hear everything.
Thank you. Councillor Granter. Councillor Granter. Councillor Grimes, please.
Good morning, everybody. Councillor Tony Grimes, ward member for Barrow and Breen. I can see and hear everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Harvey.
Morning. I can see and hear. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Healy.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Mark Healy, representing Puriton, Wallavington and Cossington. I can clearly see and hear everything. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Hendry, please.
Good morning, Melanie. Chairman and Councillors, Alistair Hendry, Burnham-on-Sea Central, and I can see and hear everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Hayward. Councillor Hayward. Okay. Councillor Human, please.
Councillor Will Human representing Markham Wedmore. I can see and hear clearly. Thank you. Good morning.
Thank you. Councillor Keane.
Good morning, everybody. Councillor Janet Keane, representing Highbridge and Burnham Marine. I confirm that I can see and hear the entire proceedings.
Thank you. Councillor Lilly, please. Councillor Lilly. Okay. Councillor McGinty.
Yes, thank you. Good morning to everybody. Yep, Councillor Duncan McGinty, East Polden Ward, I can see and hear. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Matthews.
Yeah, I'm Councillor Alan Matthews, representing Highbridge and Burnham Marine. I confirm I can see and hear everything.
Thank you. Councillor Methley.
Hello, good morning. Councillor Lisa Methley for Cheddar and Shipham. I confirm I can see and hear. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Murphy. Councillor Murphy. Okay. Councillor Pay, please.
Good morning, Councillor Pay. I can confirm I can hear and see everything. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Pearce.
Yes, I'm here and I confirm I can see and hear everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. We weren't sure whether Councillor Perry was going to be sending apologies. Is Councillor Perry here? No. Thank you. Councillor Redman. Councillor Redman. Okay. Councillor Revens.
Good morning, colleagues. Councillor Bill Revens, North Petherton Ward and leader of the Lib Dem Group. I can confirm I can see and hear everything. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Riches.
Yes, good morning. Councillor Charlie Riches up in Cheddar and Shipham, and I can hear and see the proceedings.
Thank you. Councillor Rodriguez. Councillor Rodriguez. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sorry, Councillor.
Just to confirm, yeah, I can see and hear everything.
Thank you. Councillor Scott.
Yes, good morning, everyone. It's Councillor Liz Scott. I can confirm I can see and hear you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Slocum.
Good morning, Councillor Jill Slocum, Deputy Leader and representing Wyndham Ward, Bridgewater. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Smedley.
Yeah, Brian Smedley, Westover Ward, leader of the Labour Group. I have also sent in apologies for Councillors Redman, Grant, Levy. You should have those as well, and Hayward.
Could I just, so that was Councillor Redman, Councillor Granter, Councillor Levy.
Yes, and Councillor Hayward.
And Councillor Hayward. Thank you very much. Okay, and Councillor Wong.
I believe Councillor Wong is working. He was trying to get the time off, but if he's not here, he asked me to send apologies. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And just going back to Councillor Bruce.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Sorry, I'm also at work, so joined a little bit late. But yeah, Councillor Hilary Bruce, Bridgewater Fairfax, I can hear and see everything now. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you. Councillor Lilly.
Yeah, thank you, Melanie. I've just got apologies from Councillor Lilly. She's been unavoidably detained.
That's fine. Thank you very much. Councillor Murphy.
He assures me he's trying to log on.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And that is it. Thank you. Back over to you, Chairman.
Thank you very much for that, Melanie. Before we just start the official meeting, I've got to introduce the officers who were present this morning. Bob Brown, our Chief Executive, Doug Bamsey, our Deputy, Alison Turner, Melanie Wellman, Alison Monteith, Claire Fawn, and Andrew Melhewish. Thank you, councillors. And welcome to everybody else who was observing the meeting today. Just a few have tuned in, so welcome to you all. Right, Andrew, over to you. Apologies, to confirm apologies.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairman. So apologies received from Councillors Clayton, Levy, Bartlett, Costello, Betty, Kingham, Filmer, Woodman, Lilly, Perry, Wong, Redman, Granter, and Hayward. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Andrew. Declaration of interest.
Sorry, Chairman. Just before you move forward, Councillor Mark Healy.
Thank you, Chairman. I beat you to it, I'm afraid, so I'd like to declare personal interest as a member of Somerset County Council. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Benny. Any other members declaring? No, right.
Yes, we've got Councillor Revens.
Thank you. Likewise, declaring personal interest as a member of Somerset County Council.
Thanks to Councillor Evans.
And Councillor Caswell.
Yes. Please raise a hand if you could, please, or put yourself in the chat box. Thank you very much for picking up that, Andrew, anyhow. Okay. Thank you. Right, moving on. With number 4. It's recommendations from the executive and the other committees. The local referendum on the future of local government in Somerset. So without more ado, I'm going to hand it over to our leader, Duncan McGinty, who will propose the recommendation.
Thank you, Chairman. There are 2 recommendations before you today. I'd like to add a slight tweak to the first one, and that will be the conducting of a local authority poll as a postal and online referendum utilising civic or electoral services, with the poll commencing on or about Tuesday, the 18th of May 2021, and closing on or about Friday, the 4th of June 2021. And that just gives us a bit of flexibility over that time without having to come back to members should the proposals be granted today. I'd like to endorse the proposals before you today, and no doubt we will have some debate in a few moments. I think the important thing here is following the legal advice that we've received and the additional pieces of correspondence that are before us today. Clearly, it's morally right to allow the people of Sedgemoor to have their voice heard by the easiest means possible on this really important issue that will affect local government service delivery for many years to come. We have said before that we felt that the government's consultation was flawed. And I think the piece of information that came down in the written question to Ian Littlegranger yesterday actually says exactly what we thought. It's non-specific to Somerset, and there is no way of knowing who or where those people who responded to the consultation reside. So I think, once again, it's vitally important that the people of Sedgemoor have their say. And so I'm happy to move the recommendations.
Thank you very much, that leader. Is that seconded?
Yes, it is, Chairman. I'm very, very happy to second those recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Slocum. And now I'd like to invite Bob Brown to present the report and a background to all the information. Welcome to you, Bob.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll just give a potted history and an introduction to the papers. I think the reports before you and the additional papers are comprehensive in this regard. So just as a background, members be aware that the original report was put before you recommending the holding of a local poll, and that was deferred pending the receipt of a letter from the Secretary of State raising a number of issues of a legal nature. At that time, we were being supported by Bevan Britton solicitors, and you can see the letter there. They had concerns initially that the Secretary of State seemed to have a point, but recommended that we take QC's opinion on those issues, which is the purpose for the deferment. And we sought some advice from James Gowdy QC, who is the preeminent QC and legal advisor on all matters local government. We put all the issues before him, and as you can see, there has been a comprehensive response in regard to all of those issues, and I think it supports the original recommendations and the reports that were put before you at the previous meeting. I'll just address some of the key issues. Secretary of State raised a question about value for money and the relevance of holding a poll in terms of his decision making. The QC makes it abundantly clear that actually the results of a poll would have to be taken into account by the Secretary of State. We're aware that the consultation process closed on the 19th of April, but that's immaterial to the issue of whether the Secretary of State needs to take account of a poll. As the QC makes it clear, there's a legal principle under what's called the Wednesbury rules that says that the Secretary of State or decision maker needs to take account of all relevant matters and considerations before him before he makes a decision. And if the poll is held and the results are known, he will need to take that into account when he makes his decision. And for us, that's really important because the Secretary of State set out 3 criteria by which he's going to measure the proposals. The first is efficiency and quality of the services, local services in each of the proposals, which is criteria 1. The second is that each proposal should have, I think, command a good deal of local support, is the direct quote from the Secretary of State's criteria. The third concerns geography. I think in terms of the first criteria, then clearly the Secretary of State has at least one proposal before him that improves services and delivers efficiencies and the others. So the second criteria, I think, is critical, and that is both quantitative and qualitative. I think we're happier with the qualitative approach to the consultation, although we do have some concerns around the number of consultees and the breadth of those, and we've made those to the Secretary of State, and I won't rehearse that. But actually, the quantitative element seems to be missing, and that's one of the major reasons for holding the poll, and that will get to that particular issue. So on that basis, as the Secretary of State must take this into consideration, we feel that there is value for money in holding the poll and getting this information to the Secretary of State to assist his decision making, particularly around key criteria 2. And on that basis, QC makes it abundantly clear that is a legal step for us to take and is a value for money step for us to take. As you can see, the budget for holding the poll is about £75,000. And I think in terms of the democratic outcomes that this will achieve, that does represent value for money for you in taking that step. As the leader said, we're hoping to hold the poll between May and the beginning of June. We need a little bit of flexibility in that to ensure that if there is a challenge and a slight delay, we don't have to come back to you just for a day or two's change in the dates for that. So that's the whole purpose of that change. I think members really you need to have consideration of some other representations that we've received. So Mr. Finch has put in a letter, and we addressed all of those issues at executive. Broadly, they're in 2 categories. The first is there value in holding a poll because there's already been a consultation exercise, and I think I've set out the reasons for that and why. Understandably, Mr. Finch may have those questions, but I think those are answered by what I've said earlier. The second is about bias and whether our representations in regard to there just being 2 authorities in our proposal for Stronger Somerset may be misleading. I don't think that's the case. I think it's simpler than that for us in Sedgemoor. If the Stronger Somerset proposal was to win, then for all the people who currently live in Sedgemoor, receive services from Sedgemoor and County Council, there would be 1 new local authority, 1 new front door, and that would be the West of Somerset Council. So I think that gives us an understanding of actually the clarity for members of the public in terms of accessing services on our behalf. So I think those addresses the issue. We recently circulated a letter that both that Ian Littlegranger had received from the Secretary of State, which I think you will note is far more conciliatory than the first challenging letter, which I think is helpful to us because the purpose of this exercise is to assist the Secretary of State in his decision-making process, particularly around criteria 2. I think that gives you the background. I'm happy to answer any questions in terms of process or otherwise. I know that Melanie's here if you have any specific legal questions that you need to address, and we can address the Section 151 and finance issues if you need also. So I'll stop talking now and hand over to the chairman and the leader to take the matter forward. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Bob, for explaining a few issues, and which is a very, very important issue. Now, is it any debate, councillors?
Councillor Smedley, Chairman.
Councillor Smedley, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. Satisfied by the legal response and don't have any particular questions regarding that. We are going to support this motion today. I think it's very important. The one Somerset proposal would be a disaster. It's a blatant power grab and an attack on local democracy. Has to be prevented at all costs. A majority of the elected councillors across the county have already voted it down and expressed their opinion and have supported the stronger Somerset model by about 3 to 1. And so the only missing element now is the view of the people. The legal advice clearly says that it's up to us to decide what's value for money, not to be told by some distant office. It's totally legal to have this vote, and that there is a point to doing this, as the book clearly doesn't stop with the Secretary of State, stops with the elected members of Parliament, and that the poll is clearly within the timescale to have some effect on that decision. And of course, the key point, as mentioned by Mr. Brown earlier, was the great deal of local support that needs to be evinced in some way, and that can be established through this poll. Asking the people directly is clearly the missing link in this whole process. So that's why we will support this motion today in defence of local democracy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Smedley. Councillor Revens, I have waiting.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Likewise, this poll has our full support for the reasons that the leaders of the other two groups have outlined. This is around making sure that this decision has the full support of local residents to ensure that we have local councils that offer value for money services and are representative of their local communities. One remote authority will not fulfil that requirement. While I fully support this and will be voting for it, I'm just asking 3 questions, if I may. The first is, will we be formally requesting that the Secretary of State take this poll into consideration in his deliberations? Secondly, Judith Barnes of Bevan Britton states that there is a high risk of challenge to this decision. How high do we rate that risk, given the subsequent advice that we have had, or do we now think that risk has lessened? And thirdly, James Goody, in his excellent report, talks about a personal liability risk being very low. How low is low, and who is that personal liability on? Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Revens. And who would like to take Councillor Revens' questions? A leader, would it be leader, or Bob?
I think they're technical questions. I think Mr. Brown or Mrs. Wellman will be the people to do so.
Thank you for that, leader. Bob or Melanie. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I'll take the first two and perhaps or part of the first two, and then Melanie can take up the detailed questions. In terms of writing to the Secretary of State, yes, we will be writing to the Secretary of State to formally request that he takes this into account. We'll also be letting the Secretary of State know that we're going to undertake this poll so that he doesn't make any quick decisions without the benefit of this information, because obviously it would be relevant. So the Secretary of State will be fully aware that we're undertaking it and will be asked to take it into consideration. And thirdly, to ensure that there's no expeditious decision outside or to a quicker time frame than he's already decided, because obviously the time frame that he's indicated gives us plenty of time to hold the poll and get this information onto him to take account. That said, obviously this is a parliamentary decision, so an order needs to put before Parliament and they will decide whether a new local authority or local authorities are introduced into Somerset, and it would be relevant for the decision making at that stage also. So it's not that just that the Secretary of State would benefit from this information in any event, as Councillor Revens said. Just touching on the advice from Bevan Britton about high risk of challenge. When we first received that advice from Bevan Britton, myself, Melanie and Stephen, all lawyers who've done this for a number of years, weren't convinced that that was correct. Hence the reason why we went to James Gowdy, and he makes it abundantly clear that the risk of challenge or successful challenge, because the risk of challenge is a different matter, but the risk of successful challenge is very low. I'm not certain why Bevan Britton concluded that they thought that the risk was high. We think it, and James Gowdy thinks it is very low. But I think that's because they may have reached a erroneous conclusion in terms of value for money and whether it was relevant to hold a poll outside of the consultation period. But once again, James Gowdy clarifies that completely. In terms of the personal liability, once again, I think the risk is very low, but perhaps Melanie can explain that particular issue from a technical point of view.
Thank you, Bob.
Absolutely. So members have the benefit of a statutory indemnity under legislation, and that indemnity from liability applies where members act bona fide, or in other words, in good faith, when you're undertaking your role as decision maker. Only if it's subsequently discovered that a decision is unlawful, and you already know from the advice that Council has advised, and indeed Bevan Britton have advised, that you have the ability to take this decision and you have the ability to conduct a poll lawfully. And only if members don't take into account the advice received or base your decision on improper purposes could the protection that you have from that statutory indemnity no longer apply. And that's the reason why we've taken legal advice, so that we can give you all of the information that you need to make an informed decision. And provided that you've taken that information into account, you're able to go ahead and make an informed decision in good faith. You know, at the end of the day, the risk of your statutory indemnity and any problems with that are very low, as long as you're taking all of the information before you into account, and not taking into account something that, you know, is entirely irrelevant.
Thank you very much for that, Melanie. And does that answer all your questions fully, Bill? Councillor Evans, sorry.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I am very reassured by the responses I've received, and thank the officers for their response. I am totally behind this poll. We have very clear legal advice that we are allowed to do this, and that it would benefit the people of Somerset to do this, and this will have my full support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Evans. There would appear to be no more debate, so we can go straight into the vote. Is that correct, Andrew? There's no hands up and nothing on my.
No, you're quite correct, Chairman. There appear to be no further comments. So, yes, over to you now for the vote.
Right. I'd just like wish to ask anyone if they wishes to abstain or vote against.
There doesn't appear. Sorry,
Nope.
Chairman. There doesn't appear to
sorry,
be any indication that anybody wishes to vote against or abstain. So the recommendations are unanimously carried.
Thank you very much, Sir Andrew. Looks like it very united. Thank you very, very much, Council. Thank you. And I think that's the end of the meeting today. Thank you, and all have a good bank holiday weekend. It's going to rain wet and windy on Monday, so to keep a lot of you at home, I suspect. But have a good weekend anyhow, all of you. And Councillor Evans, hope you score plenty of runs on Saturday.
It'll be the highlight of my career.
Thank you very much for your attendance, councillors and officers as well. And
thank you, Chairman.
All the very best to you all. Bye bye to you all. Bye
Thank
bye.
you.